Tola had always been the epitome of perfection. From the moment she could walk, her mother would proudly tell anyone who would listen about her angel. Pastor Ezekiel's only daughter was a role model, a shining example of discipline, grace, and godliness. But no one knew the real Tola, the girl who lived a double life, one at home, where she was the perfect Christian daughter, and another at school, where she became someone completely different. T.Baddie, the wild girl no one could recognize. At home, everything seemed flawless. Tola woke up early morning for devotion, dressed in her best mother's clothes, and helped her mother around the house. She attended every church service and sat in the front row. Her Bible always open and her verses always memorized. Pastor Ezekiel often used her as an example during his sermons. Boasting about his daughter, he would say, with a prideful smile on his face, "She is the true reflection of what every young woman should aspire to be. Pure, disciplined, and faithful." Tola would smile, nod and agree, but inside, a storm was brewing. The weight of the life she was living pressed down on her chest every day. No one suspected that when she left for Babcock University, she transformed into a completely different person. It started in her second week at Babcock University. Tola had always been quiet and reserved, focused on her studies, not interested in parties or a typical university life. Then she met Sade. Sade was everything Tola wasn't: bold, fearless, and free-spirited. She was the kind of person who walked into a room and instantly owned it. Tola, on the other hand, would always keep to herself, her nose in her books. Sade wasn't like that. She didn't care about perfection or reputation. One afternoon, while they were in the library together, Sade asked her, "Why did you act so uptight all the time?" Tola paused. "I'm not uptight. I'm just what?" Sade cut in, raising an eyebrow. "You are in uni now, not some religious camp. You need to loosen up, girl. You can't be all about that good girl image forever. Live a little." The word struck Tola deeper than she wanted to admit. She wasn't unhappy at home or faith, but something about Sade's carefree attitude made her wonder if maybe she was missing out. Maybe there was more to life than living up to everyone's expectations. That night, Sade convinced Tola to join her at a club in the city. "Just one night," she promised. "You will thank me later." Tola hesitated. She had never been to a club before. She had never stepped foot into a place where they served alcohol. But there was a thrill inside Sade's eyes, an excitement that made Tola feel like she was standing on the edge of something new. She changed into a tight red dress Sade had picked out for her, the fabric hugging her body in a way she wasn't used to. Tola barely recognized herself as she looked into the mirror. This wasn't her, or was it? Sade helped her with her makeup, making sure her lipstick was perfect, her lashes dramatic. "You look like a queen," Sade said with a wink. As the night unfolded, Tola was swept in the excitement. She danced until she felt dizzy, the music thumping in her chest, the lights flashing around her. For the first time in a long time, she felt free, like she was allowed to exist in her own world, of the image everyone had for her. But as the night wore on, reality began to set in. What was she really doing? Was this really her? When Tola returned to her hostel the next morning, still buzzing from the night out, she was filled with conflicting emotions: guilt, excitement, confusion. She had crossed a line. She had been to a party. She had acted like someone else, but no one needed to know, right? Sade kept pushing her each weekend, bringing more excitement, more wild nights, and more pictures to post on Instagram. By now, Tola had her own reputation to maintain. T.Baddie became her alter ego. She posted pictures of herself with drinks in her hand, dancing with friends, always smiling, always carefree. She built a personnel that was far from who she really was. But at home, it was a different story. Tola became the perfect daughter once again. She called her parents every week, told them everything was fine, even though her life felt like a constant balancing act. Her parents had no idea. Pastor Ezekiel continued to praise his daughter in church, showing off pictures of her good deeds and talking about how she was excelling in her studies. Her mother often called, telling her Tola how proud she was of her. "You are doing so well, my angel. Keep shining for the Lord." Tola's heart sank every time. How long could she keep this up? It wasn't long before the cracks in Tola's double life began to show. She was exhausted emotionally and physically. Her grades began to slip. She couldn't concentrate in her studies anymore. The late night out, the constant pressure to maintain her image were taking their toll. Sade introduced her to a whole new world of indulgence. Nights of drinking turned into wild hookups, and Tola found herself doing things she never imagined. She had become the girl she never thought she would be, the one her parents warned her about. But the deeper Tola sank into this lifestyle, the more empty it felt. She was living a lie, constantly pretending to be someone she wasn't. Her Instagram following grew, but she still felt hollow inside. Everything came crashing down one fateful weekend. Tola had attended a party that was even wilder than usual. Kunle, an older student who had been showering her with emotion, was there. After a few too many drinks, they ended up in a compromising situation. Kunle recorded a video of them dancing together and making out, and without her knowledge, posted it on social media with the caption, "T.Baddie owns the night." The video spread like wildfire. When Tola woke up, hungover and disorientated, she saw the notification flooding in. Her secret life was no longer a secret. In the middle of a class, she received a call from her father. His voice, usually so strong and proud, was now shaky with disbelief. "Tola," he said, "what is this I am hearing? What have you done?" Tola's heart stopped. She could feel the disappointment and pain in his voice, and it tore her apart. "Dad, please. It's not what it looks like," she tried to explain. But the words felt empty. Her mother found out soon after. The disappointment in her eyes was worse than anything Tola had ever experienced. "After everything we have taught you, how could you?" her mother whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. Tola felt like the ground beneath her was crumbling. She had hurt the people who loved her the most. And for what? A life of lies and empty excitement. Tola didn't go home for the next few weeks. She stayed in her room, contemplating her actions. Her grades continued to drop. Her friendships became strained, and her online personality felt like a weight she could no longer carry. She realized that the cost of her perfection was higher than she had ever imagined. She had traded her authenticity for a fleeting image, and now that image had come crashing down. When she finally returned home, it was clear that things would never be the same. Pastor Ezekiel barely spoke to her, and her mother's eyes was no longer sparkled with pride when she looked at her. There was a silence between them, one that spoke volumes. It took months for Tola to rebuild the trust she had broken. She took time off the university to focus on herself, her faith, and her relationship with her family. She cut off toxic friends, including Sade, and began to take her studies seriously again. But the hardest part was healing the bond with her parents. They still loved her, but the disappointment was always there, a reminder of the choices she had made. She knew that earning their trust back would take time, but she was willing to do the work. As Tola stood before the mirror one day, staring at the reflection of the woman who had once lived so many different lives, she realized something important. The price of perfection, of trying to be everything to everyone, was not worth it. In the end, being authentic was the only way forward. She wasn't perfect. She wasn't the flawless daughter everyone thought she was. But that was okay, because she was learning to be her true self. And that was worth more than any amount of approval from others. What do you think about Tola's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.